All right. Things have kind of slowed down with the Steelers. We didn't match the frenzy of when free agency first started. So, um, but still, I mean, the big thing that happened was Deshaun Watson. Should the Steelers be worried? Are the Steelers the worst team in the AFC North now?
No.
No.
Well, that's a tough question.
That depends on what level you're asking.
I think based off the moves that the Steelers have made, that they're the worst team in the AFC North, but that doesn't mean they're bottom half of the AFC. But I think the AFC North has kind of taken a step to being the best in football.
Yeah, they're almost on the level of the AFC West. It's like, 4 loaded teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the AFC in general is pretty ridiculous right now. You look at all the young quarterbacks, the moves that were made defensively, like Khalil Mack going to the Chargers and all that. But the Steelers, I think, have, especially if this thing with Tyrann Mathieu goes the way that we're hoping, and even if it doesn't, still have a top 3 defense in the league. So I think there's plenty to be confident about, even if you're not totally confident about Mitch, but it's not like he's guaranteed to be the starter for the next 4 years. It's just for the next 2 while he's under contract, and a whole lot can change between now and then anyway.
I agree. And who knows if, I don't know, my boy Dwayne Haskins steps up and he just magically becomes a starter.
I think the best case scenario for Haskins at this point is to magically become the backup, and for them to trade or release Mason, because Mason is the most disrespected human besides Chris Rock on this planet right now. There are memes out there of somebody putting Myles Garrett's head on Smith's face, and Mason's face on Chris Rock,
and the helmet in the hand.
There's a helmet.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that meme.
Yeah. I mean, there was that show Everybody Hates Chris, but really, it's Everybody Hates Mason Rudolph. Nobody likes the guy, but it does make me wonder what is going to happen with the quarterback position, because I hear a lot that they want to draft a quarterback. So what does that mean for Trubisky? Are we already done with him, or is he already yesterday's
No, he's
news?
a stopgap. I don't think Trubisky ever came in here thinking he was going to be the one to lead us all to glory.
Wow.
I think he knows that. I think he knows what he is. He's a stopgap. He's here to prove that he can do it again and then get his payment from another team. And yeah, if we draft a young up and coming quarterback, I think that's reasonable. It depends on who we get and where we get him and what value and all that other nonsense. But
well, the way I see it, there's only one quarterback that the Steelers are going to draft, and it's Malik Willis. And you're going to have to trade up to go get him. I strongly believe that. And at this point, I'd be kind of surprised if they don't trade up to go get him, because I think you've solidified some of the deals on the offensive line. It's not perfect by any means, but you feel good about Kevin Dotson. You feel good about Mason Cole at center now. You feel really good at right guard. So I think overall, there's still going to be some holes on that offense, but with the defense being in place, you're still in win now mode, so you can afford to give up really not that much. If you maybe a first and a second and the third this year, or excuse me, not a first and a second, a first this year, a first next year, and a third this year, I think you can get up into the top 10 very reasonably. Take Malik Willis, do what you intended to do with Ben, and let Mitchell Trubisky be Malik Willis's Tommy Maddox. Just hopefully Mitch doesn't get hurt, because that was the intention all along. So if that plays out, that's best case scenario for Malik. That's best case scenario for the Steelers, because they don't have to throw him out behind a terrible offensive line if it doesn't improve as much as you'd like to see. So I think that's what's on the table for the Steelers. And for me, based on the moves that they've made, I still feel confident if you end up having to sit at 20 and take the best player available and just move on with Mitch. And because if he sucks, it's a really good quarterback class next year. And if he's good, then he's earning his reputation back and proving that he was a good quarterback. The Bears were the problem. Matt Nagy was the problem. So I think overall, a lot of things can turn out really positively for the Steelers if they just kind of bide their time or reach for the stars and go get their guy.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know if that's realistic for moving up for Malik Willis, and I don't know how much the Steelers are in love with him. Like,
I think they love him.
They love him now.
All right, don't you dare start showing me that meme of like Tomlin looking longingly. Like, don't you dare.
Oh, you mean that's why we were supposed to get Aaron Rodgers, because they looked at each other. They had a look. They had they exchanged glances one time.
Well, here's the thing. That was a glance. Mike Tomlin has looked at him like that for a month straight.
Look, if he came to us in a really, really good situation, I'd be down for it. But like, I think they're gonna have to trade too much. I don't think he's gonna be in a position where they're gonna get him.
Well, I think on that same look what the team has done recently, that I think kind of backs up the fact that they would be willing to trade up. I think we kind of have a misconception because they don't move first so often, but they move a lot. They move up a lot in the back ends of the draft. And then recently they made 2 splash moves, one for Devin Bush, where they gave up similar value as what I just suggested for Malik Willis, and another when they gave up the first for Minkah Fitzpatrick. While the Devin Bush thing didn't really, but it's not done yet, but it hasn't really panned out as well as you'd like. That Minkah Fitzpatrick thing was excellent. So you're shooting 50-50 right now. Yeah. So I think there's reason to believe that they could. There's obviously plenty of reason to believe that they won't. Yeah. Either way, though, I think you should be pleased with the situation as a whole.
Here's why I think they're not going to get Malik Willis. You have Detroit at 2 that needs a quarterback. You have the Giants that possibly might get one. They have picks 5 and 7. You have Carolina that definitely needs a quarterback. You have Atlanta that needs a quarterback now. Seattle needs a quarterback. Washington, not Washington really, but New Orleans. Well, maybe not New Orleans, but there's a bunch of teams there that need one. So I don't think he's gonna not even be close to falling to where they could trade for him. Also, the Steelers do not have the draft capital that they did in previous years. They had that extra 3rd round pick when they traded for Devin Bush. They had that extra 3rd round pick because of the Antonio Brown trade. So they had extra draft capital. This time they don't have much. So that's why I don't think they're going to trade up that much.
I think that's fair, but I think if you look at those other teams, I think the Giants are still going to give Daniel Jones one more shot at this thing and get some help around him, get a wide receiver, maybe get some offensive linemen. Yeah. With the Lions, if the Jags don't go Aiden Hutchinson, that's the hometown boy right there. Dan Campbell's he's not a defensive-minded coach, but he's a big, nasty kind of coach. So he would probably opt to take a guy like Aiden Hutchinson there as well. That's when you make the trade. As soon as the Lions don't take him, because at 3, the Texans aren't going to do it. Shockingly, they're going to give Davis Mills a shot because if they suck next year, again, better quarterback class. 4, the Jets won't do it. 5, that's where the Giants are. That's where you can trade up. And if you look at the values of those picks that the Steelers would be giving up, 20 this year, I think it's 52. No, 52 is a 2nd round pick. Is whatever the 3rd round pick is, and first next year, that equates positively in the Giants' favor, but not so much that the Steelers are losing a lot to where the trade would make sense for them overall. And like I said, you've built a lot through this free agency with all the money that you've had to where you don't have to build the defense continuously, fix offensive line, find a gold mine at wide receiver in the 2nd round like you often do. And I think
the wide
you feel really
receiver
good about this team over the next 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the wide receiver thing, I agree with you. The wide receiver, that like, as much as people say that needs to be addressed, that if Kevin Colbert's going to go out on a gold like medal, it's going to be because he drafts us like the next Antonio Brown. So
I mean, do it one more time before you leave, Colbert. One more time.
We'll send you out. We'll have a ceremony. You can stand on the pedestal. It'll be fine.
Just hopefully this one sticks around for a long time
and doesn't lose his mind.
Yeah. I'm sad that Juju's gone, and the deal that Christian Kirk signed is gonna really make it difficult for DJ to come back too. But I mean, if you do it again, you feel confident about who Malik or Mitchell Trubisky or whoever is the quarterback who they're throwing to for the next 4 or 5 years.
The Jaguars and the Browns did a lot of damage this year. The Jaguars with that ridiculous contract, they basically caused that Tyreek Hill trade, because Tyreek Hill's like, that dude's making that much. I want to make that much. I want to be the highest paid. And the like, and then this ridiculous, insane, guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson, who that's gonna. I would hate to be negotiating a contract with a quarterback in the future. Cough, cough, Ravens and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, given $230 million guaranteed to a guy with that many problems, the rest of the quarterback market is saying, "Hey, I'm clean as a whistle." When Josh Allen's ready to get upgraded, if he hasn't already, like, I've never been in trouble in my life. What are you going to guarantee me? I'm not going anywhere. That's man. The Browns, they finally have a good team, but they're still finding a way to be absolutely stupid in most things that they do, because they also, at the same time, because they didn't unload Baker first, they killed any value they could get back for him after giving up 3 first-round picks and guaranteeing $230 million to a guy that could go to jail any minute if there's the right kind of evidence. It's stupidity at its finest.
I think
Browns football.
It's Browns football. I think that they just really screwed themselves up. They basically traded everything money wise and draft pick wise for a very questionable person. And I think it's just they're just going to shoot themselves in the foot. I think it's going to be a disaster for them, like most Browns things are. So I think the Browns are going to go back to being kind of a laughingstock.
Well, if it doesn't pan out, if it doesn't pan out, that's exactly where they're headed, is right back to where they were before they got Baker. And that's mediocrity picking in the top 5 every single year. That said, if Deshaun can ball out and stay on the field, they're Super Bowl contenders until he retires. And that's, even with the money that they're giving him and all the draft capital they gave up, the roster is stacked right now. The entire offensive line is signed to long-term deals with the exception of Jedrick Wills. They've got playmakers all across the board except for at wide receiver, which this class is incredibly deep. You can find somebody. A lot of things are leaning their way as long as Deshaun Watson keeps his hands to himself and stays on the field.
Yeah.
Am I the only Steeler in the room that wants Jarvis Landry to be a Steeler now?
I would not mind that. I'd be okay with that. I think that's what they need, is an adult in the room. They need someone to be they need a veteran. I think they need a little bit of maturity.
You haven't had one since Darius Hayward Bay, right? I mean, it's been a while since you've had a real. I mean, sure, yeah, he wasn't a contributor, but he was a voice.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging.
You don't have to contribute, but good, have some life experience behind you. So, when you drop a pass, somebody can be like, "Hey, it's okay. I dropped a gazillion," something like that.
Yeah, he did.
You're missing something there. And I've said that for years, though, and they haven't done it.
I wouldn't mind Jarvis Landry being a Steeler. The man can run routes. He catches balls. They need a third wide receiver, to be honest. I mean, who's their third right now? Is it that Gunner? Is it that Gunner kid?
No, he's just hopefully he's just a kick returner. But then again, Ray was only supposed to be a kick returner. Let's see how that turned out. So, you get Jarvis Landry, you get Honey Badger. You're set.
No, I don't want Honey Badger.
Why would you not? He's better than Terrell Edmonds. Oh,
He's
that's because
better
he's a
than
Hokie.
Oh yeah. Yes, I am that loyal. Because I've every time that they've signed a Hokie, I've gone Hokie high, and then every time they.
I would not mind if Terrell Edmonds came back.
I wouldn't either.
He's
a lot
solid.
cheaper. Yeah,
he's solid.
If they can get him back, like it depends on what Terrell Edmonds wants, or not Terrell Edmonds. God dang it, Honey Badger.
Well,
Honey Badger is going to want a lot of money. That's the problem.
he is.
Yes.
The Steelers can afford him, and if he wants to, it depends on what his prospects are. Because he's not going to the Ravens, and that's where a lot of people thought he was going to go. How many championship teams can you really get on? And a lot of people don't think the Steelers are a championship team, but within the time frame of his contracts, you never know.
Have you met us?
Right. Well, I know we do. I just mean people outside this fan base.
But we are a month out from the draft. We are way past the initial waves of free agency, and he's still out there. That increases the chances that he's going to take like a 1-year deal and say, I'll just do this all again next year and maybe cash in.
Maybe.
Who's that? Honey Badger?
Honey Badger, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I wonder is if Terrell isn't spurned by the fact that the Steelers are obviously holding out to see what Tyrann Mathieu does. And if the Steelers don't get Tyrann Mathieu and Terrell is spurned by that, then what do? You have to go in the draft and with an open position. And
I think
that's how you wound up with Terrell in the first place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind them drafting a safety high.
There's only one good one.
You
can get Lewis signed, but you'd have to trade back a little bit for the value.
I don't know the draft yet. I've said before on this podcast, there's so many like ifs, ands, or buts throughout the entire process that speculating makes me just makes my head spin, and I don't like to do it. So I'm not speculating who they're going to take. I can tell you who what positions I think they need, but I couldn't tell you players.
Well, what position do you think that, assuming they don't get a quarterback, assuming they don't trade up? I've just looked at 5 different mock drafts, and 4 of them have Malik Willis falling to them at 20. So
are those all Steelers written drafts? That's all I'm saying.
Most of them just don't do trades, and they're like, that's where he's going. But
all right,
there's no way he falls to 20.
honestly, if the Steelers are sitting there and they're not taking quarterback, if they are in a position of need, they either take a defensive back or they take an offensive tackle. I think. I don't know how deep the offensive tackle draft.
Here's the thing: you just go best player available. There will be somebody really good if they just sit there and wait for them, because
what if it's somebody that they already have?
That's fine. That's fine. You could, as long as he's not a bust, you're good.
Well, tell me what one position
before.
do you not want competition at? Running back and edge rusher, I think. That's it. The rest, you're welcoming in anybody, I think. Really?
And remember, they don't have to necessarily start right away or even play a lot. Let them sit back, let them learn. Whatever position it is.
That's valid.
You know who they could really use? They could use a good cornerback. Because right now you got.
That's why I said defensive back.
Well, but still, in particular, cornerback, you got right now Levi Wallace and Witherspoon, who are both good.
Don't we still have Cam Sutton?
Yes, Cam Sutton too. But they're all good. But you have the potential to get someone great.
Yeah,
and they've been notoriously terrible at drafting.
Everyone is terrible at drafting a cornerback. That's not just a Steelers specific thing.
I know it's not specific, but I'm just saying that is the shot in the dark I don't necessarily want to take.
Yeah,
I take honestly, if I had to pick between an O lineman and a corner at the same level, I'd take an outside O lineman before I take a defensive back. That guy could start for you for 7 years. defensive backs, they tend to move around and like a little bit more than offensive linemen do.
Ronnie Harrison, who's a safety for that played with the Browns. He's still available. Landon Collins is still available. Just
Roll Tide.
Possibly. There you go.
Two Bama guys. Let's go. Well, here's the thing about Landon Collins. You don't want him at safety. You that's a Mark Barron type. He's got to start playing linebacker if he wants to stay in the league.
Okay.
Now, Ronnie Harrison, I'd be happy with him. I think he's that happy medium between Terrell Edmonds and Tyrann Mathieu, where I would be very happy with him, and not just because he's from Alabama, it's because he's a pretty good football player.
Not only is he from Alabama, but he basically was teammates with Minka and Levi Wallace, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
So
that was one of the cool things I saw about the Wallace signing was that they were teammates. That was actually awesome. Roll Tide.
Pretty tight. Yeah.
We're bringing back the band. We're going to band the band back together.
Hey, the more Alabama guys, the better.
Yeah, really.
Let's just bring the entire Alabama defense back together, and they will win everything again. Nah, but
I mean, that's what Washington tried to do. It didn't really pan out well for them.
Yeah. Well, and nothing Washington does pans out. But
yeah, valid. So wait, who's backing up Najee this year?
Yeah, I think they need someone good.
That's a good question.
They need someone good, but that's going to be really tough. You're going to have to draft someone because no running back in their right mind is going to want to come in, because it's like, hey, you want to come in? You're going to play 10% of the time because Najee's going to play 90% of the time. But hey, that 10%, that's yay. I mean,
Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, you're just going to have to.
That's too expensive.
Philip Lindsay will do. I think Philip Lindsay would do it at this point.
I think he still wants to play. If you're going after a veteran, you're gonna laugh, but I think they're tight. Najee and this guy are tight, and that's Adrian Peterson.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
why is that his grandfather?
I mean, they're just tight. He's tight with a lot of like Marshawn Lynch and some of those guys too. But you could get AD on a vet minimum deal. He knows he's not going to play unless Najee gets hurt or something, which heaven forbid.
I'm talking for somebody to like spell him for like third.
That's what I'm saying. Just play a little bit, and actually, he would be perfect in that role. Just play a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, McFarland, or is that the Maryland kid's name? McFarland.
Yes.
I know who you're talking.
He's got an opportunity to step up. Benny Snell's got an opportunity to step up.
Yeah,
but what both of those guys know very well, as well as probably Najee, is that the Steelers have drafted a running back in the past 5 straight drafts. So if you don't pan out, like you're
have
gone.
They really?
Yes, they have. I think I saw Alex Kozora post it, but it's insane.
It was Benny Snell in 2019, McFarland in 2020, and Najee in 2021. So yeah.
And before that, you get into James Conner and
right.
And before that, I can't remember.
He's living his best life out in Arizona.
Yeah, good for James Conner, man.
Good for James Conner.
But I mean, I don't know what kind of style back you go for. I don't know what round
because
you
Najee's
start to
all
entertain
the style
the idea.
backs. That's
exactly
the unfortunate part. Like he can pound it through the tackles. He can go out and run routes. Like he can catch things out of the backfield. That's the weird thing. Like, does switching it up really mess the defense up anymore? Because you're just like, oh, okay, it's not Najee, but we still got to expect everything.
It's not really switching it up. I mean, because you have your switch ups on the roster right now, assuming McFarland does anything, which he's been a massive disappointment. But it's basically just giving Najee a breather.
Yeah,
which he doesn't need many of. That's why I'm in favor of more of a traditional, like, this dude's a backup. He's only playing if Najee gets hurt.
I actually I didn't even know Adrian Peterson was like thinking of playing again. Like, I actually don't.
He played on like 3 different teams last year.
I don't, but I don't hate that. Like, put him on there. Like, I mean, he is one of the greatest running backs of all time, but he is on like the downside of his career. But let him be the Brett Favre of running backs.
Right. Yeah.
So he'll play till he can't play anymore.
I'm just
for
wondering
him.
what Najee is going to be this year. Is he going to be like a Derrick Henry type? Is he going to bulk up? Is he going to lighten up and be like a Le'Veon Bell type? Is he going to, or just stay the same or whatever? And my goodness, what if the Steelers offensive line is better and he actually has holes to run through? Oh my God.
Man, he ran for 1,200 yards behind
that.
the
The worst
three offensive
lines.
lines in the league. I would love to see what he could do in the NFL within the next 3 years behind just an average offensive line.
And now
Which
he's
I
not
think
a
is what the
rookie
Steelers
anymore.
have now.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Steelers addressed that in the offseason. Like Daniels.
Daniels is such a huge pickup, man. I'm so stoked for him.
Are you all right? I'm very
He's
glad
massive.
to hear that.
He was one of the top 5 free agents, like on NFL.com and stuff.
And
like that.
who was the other guy?
Dude,
The
love
Coles?
Mason
Coles or
Cole, who is
Yeah.
probably going to
Cole.
be the center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
I feel
then
a
that
hell of a lot
leaves-
better about him than I do Illinois boy.
Here's the thing. People are saying what's going to happen with Kendrick Green. I think what people need to be saying is what's going to happen with Kevin Dotson.
No.
Really? I don't know.
You don't think
Don't
so?
come after Dot, man. I love Kevin Dotson. I got faith in him. He'll come back
I
strong.
don't know about that.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Kendrick Green, for whatever you want to say about his actual play, he was feisty. Like he had the fight in him the entire time. He got overpowered a lot because he
But
wasn't
Dotson's one of the
supposed-
strongest dudes in the league.
Yeah.
And yet
I
he
mean,
was
he's
still
a
there.
road
He
grader.
was still in the position he was at. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean, he was hurt all last year. I think
Yeah,
that's the
we'll
biggest
see.
thing.
We'll
You
see.
thought he was going to come back. He didn't. And that threw off a lot of things in the way that people view him. But I think if he comes back healthy next year,
if he
there's
comes
no
back
reason to not
healthy
think
and
that he
he's the
shouldn't
best
be what you
player,
want him
I'm
to be
in.
anyway.
Yeah, if he comes back healthy and he comes back the best player, I'm in. But I don't think you should exclude Kendrick Green from being in that conversation because I think Kendrick Green, he has that tenacity. He's not the biggest guy, but I think he could. I think he could put up a fight. So
I think he would be in like the 1 percentile of size for guards if he were to move to guard.
and
I mean,
what was Jeff Saturday? And he won like the Super Bowl for the Colts at center.
He was a
like,
center, and he was a normal size center.
He was 6 foot. That's not a normal size anything.
He was
these
not
days.
6 foot. I'm calling.
He
bluff
was
on
6
that.
foot.
but we'll see. We'll see. But now there's actually options. So I mean, there's actually
Yes.
3
All right,
options.
we can all
at
agree
center
on
now.
that. Yes,
So
He's
it's just
6'2".
it's exciting.
I'm
Um,
6'2".
It's exciting, but yeah, they need a wide receiver. I mean, right now it's Deontay and Chase Claypool, and that's it.
Gunner.
So yeah,
Gunner.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah,
good luck with that. But
wide receiver is the one position I'm not worried about though, because they draft so well. I'm really like, and this is supposedly a really deep class wide receiver.
It's extremely deep. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just see them like kind of just being like the crocodile in the lake and just sitting and waiting and then just being like, yep, that's the guy we want. Yep, that's the guy we want. And then like they may trade picks or something, but it's gonna be like minuscule. Like it's gonna be like tiny little moves. And they're gonna be like, yep, that's the guy, that's the guy, that's the guy. And that's gonna be how Kevin Colbert goes out.
I could definitely see that for wide receivers. The same way they played for Chase Claypool when they grabbed him in the second round. Nobody saw that coming because he'd spent so many picks on that position. But I think, this year you're kind of backed into the corner, but everybody that's kind of there in that second round space, if Sky Moore doesn't dip into the first round, but you've got guys like George Pickens out of Georgia, who I know, Mike Tomlin loves everybody from Georgia this year because they did that one thing that I've repressed in my memories. But there's a lot of guys to really like in the second round that would be immediate contributors on this offense.
Yeah, I definitely think they can. So, is there anybody that's like still like a Steelers free agent that you guys want to see back outside of Terrell Edmonds?
Joe Hayden, but only as in a reduced role, whatever that is. I don't know what
Sign him back as a coach.
Seriously, what would you do with that?
Bubby, you can't run.
Well,
no
but
more.
honestly, do we have any corners right now, like on the roster, that are better than Joe Hayden right now?
Hayden's about
Mark Wallace.
Hayden
Alright.
and Adrian Peterson can go play shuffleboard on a cruise ship or something.
It's golf, man.
And have dinner at 3:30 p.m. because there's yeah. I mean, the Steelers have said any free agents they target are basically players on their second contract. So basically anybody like in the 24-25 age range. So yeah.
Tyrann Matthews, the lone exception.
You make an exception for him.
Yeah.
You make an exception for Honey Badger. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I still don't think we're gonna get him. I just don't.
Probably not. But
Where's
hey,
the optimism, guys?
well, here's the thing. Here's the reason for optimism. Do defensive players want to play for a team that has Mike Tomlin and Brian Flores as your coaches? And that's like Flores isn't even the defensive coordinator. Do you want to play for someone with very good defensive minds? Maybe. Tomlin has an excellent reputation among players. People want to play for him, so there's that too.
I mean, he just has a good rep in general. So that you actually just brought up a
Except
point.
among
What do you
Steelers
guys?
fans.
What happened?
He has a good reputation, except among Steelers fans who think that they should win every game 100-0. I'm still bitter
I mean,
about that.
shouldn't we? No, but that actually brings up a good point. What did you guys think about? Tomlin said something about them changing the OT things, and he was like, "I don't fear like sudden death or something like that." I actually kind of support that. Like, I kind of think it should just still stay sudden death.
What a heavy metal thing to say. I don't fear
Sudden death. Yeah, that's...
I mean,
death doesn't scare me.
But I don't. To me, like, I think that the rule change is a positive. I think that it's going to bring more excitement to the postseason, because now you can, until the postseason, you can say, well, what if Josh Allen would have had that ball another time? But at the same time, I saw yet another, there's been so many overtime suggestion of, if you want sudden death, you want these things to be over fast, flip the coin. Team that wins the toss is going to take the ball because it's what they do. And if your defense stops them, game's over. You win. And like, that's the true.
I actually like that way better.
I kind of do too. Now, but at the same time, it's an offense-driven league. So give Josh Allen that second chance. And I think it's a positive no matter what. But, the way that the league is going to go, let's put more points on the board. Let's give these guys opportunities. I think it's a solid decision all the way around. I never liked the initial one that was completely sudden death, especially with, being able to kick field goals to win games. So
I don't like to kick field goals.
I think the
Which used to be the
NFL
rule.
is always going to make the right decision when it comes to these types of things, because at the end of the day, it's not something that's going to make people turn off. It's not something that's going to reduce the integrity of the outcomes of games. And as long as you do those two things, it was a positive move for them.
Yeah, you've had multiple games decided by a coin flip, and it's just almost
Are
almost
you
like
referencing the Detroit one?
Well, I'm referencing there's Mahomes, there was the time that the Patriots won a few years ago against the Chiefs. There was the time this past year, Chiefs and Bills. There was Steelers and Broncos. The Tim Tebow game was decided by a coin flip. If you want.
Oh, I was talking about the Steelers Lions one at Thanksgiving.
I know the Jerome Bettis
He told it properly.
extravaganza. I remember that.
That's tails.
That's tails. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to see like just an instance where, like, all right, if you want to call your offense out, that's fine. But if the defense beats you, then that team wins. Like,
I actually like that idea. It's like
because that it just gives credence. Like I understand we're in an offensive heavy league, we're in a pass heavy league, and we want to see points on the board. But like it also takes away from the like thrill of a great defensive stand. Like if you have a great defensive stand and then your team gets the ball and does absolutely nothing with it, and then the other team walks down and kicks a field goal, like how disheartening is that?
And not to mention too, you don't see very many goal line stands anymore, because teams are like, they're not pounding the ball into the end zone anymore. But you just don't see those kind of finishes to games anymore. Wouldn't that add one more kind of spice to possible outcomes? It's 4th and 4 on the 50-yard line. They've got to go for it. They've got no choice. They have to, because if they give the ball up, it's done.
What's going to happen? You throw a screen, you throw a slant, you just like, that adds some spice to that. Like, that's why I would like to see the defense be able to win games, because the defense,
they never get that shot.
Yeah, well, we say all the time, defense wins championships and all this other like hoopla, but like to give them a real opportunity to be like the last team on the field, because every time it's the field goal unit, it's the offense, it's somebody else on the field. 85% of the time, because sometimes the defense is on the field and the clock runs out, but the defense doesn't get to be the ones like on the field celebrating enough, in my mind.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with how good the offenses are, because so often those offenses do make the plays that beat those defenses, and that's exactly what happened to the Bills. A lot of people that wouldn't like that suggestion, which obviously is not even a possibility, but the people that wouldn't like that suggestion are the same people that said, hey, Bills, play defense. Then Josh Allen does get that shot.
Right.
Josh Allen almost definitely, runs the field the same way that Patrick Mahomes did, because he played a perfect playoff game for a quarterback. You'd expect it. So, I mean, there's positives and negatives to every possible way you could look at it. So I think that's why no matter what the NFL would have chose to do here, it's still a massive positive for him, because either way, it's going to generate conversation on social media. It's going to keep fans engaged, and that's the name of the game right now.
You are a very smart man.
I do what I can.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the. I mean, they played the best hand they were dealt at this point. I was merely speaking to like what I would ideally like to see, and I know it will never come. So. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're done here.
Fine.
Anything else? Do we have anything else? I think we're done here.
I don't really have anything else. I'm really happy to see you guys again.
We still got great to see you guys. We still have a month till the draft. We still have a month of. I just did a mock draft and I got Kenny Pickett in the first round, Travis Jones, the defensive tackle, in the second round, David Bell, the wide receiver from Purdue, in the third round. So, and another wide receiver in the fourth round.
Anybody outside Kenny Pickett.
Well,
is.
Still, I got.
You'd be happy with Travis Jones, I can tell you that.
I would like that. I think they need a defensive tackle, because I think I don't have high hopes for Tuitt. I have a feeling that's not going to end well.
Yeah, Tuitt worries me, and even Alu coming off an injury, like
34 years old coming off of that, that's hard, man.
That I mean, and even Cam Hayward's no spring chicken.
Exactly. You need to start to replenish that line.
Yeah, so that D line needs some upgrading, and not that and even the backups I don't have a hard time with, but they're not starting material for a reason. So
we saw what happened last year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So just I honestly, even if they went D line in the first round, I don't even know who's available at that level, but
that would be nice.
I wouldn't mind. I would be like, okay, that's reasonable.
That's why I feel good, man. You either trade up and go get your guy if you love your quarterback, or you stay put, and no matter what, you're taking best players available. You're massively improving this roster in this draft, no matter what.
They've set themselves up very well. They've addressed almost every single need. The only thing they need is a strong safety and a wide receiver or two, and that's it. Yeah, you could just sit back and wait for the best player, or you could go get who you want. But they're in a great position now. So
yeah, and
it's
that's the one thing with these offseason moves, because the Steelers don't ever do anything in the offseason. Like, I feel like the Steelers are like the most stagnant team usually in the offseason, and they went out and did things
because they actually had money. They actually had money this time.
I know we had cap space. Ooh.
Well, that's a thing. They only spent $7 million on Trubisky. The total amount they spent on quarterbacks is like $10 million. It's basically like drafting a rookie. So if Trubisky,
they're like playing with monopoly money at this point.
Yeah,
yeah, it's ridiculous. But they did this, and now they set themselves up so well for the draft. Now, just get what you need and get what's best for your team. Like,
right.
Best player available is kind of like a misnomer. Like, because you could be on a team with like a starting quarterback, but you could be on a Lamar Jackson Ravens, and there's a starting quarterback right there. You don't draft that quarterback,
right? But they don't have to reach for someone. They don't have to say, "Oh my God, we need a safety," so we're gonna
exactly.
They did with Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, that's how they ended up with Terrell Edmonds
and Artie Burns.
Which
he may still be in Steelers uniform by come the end of free agency. So
and that's fine. That's fine if he comes back. That's fine.
It's fine. Fine.
It's just not best case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look.
Your starting safety is not Honey Badger. That's his name, not Honey Badger.
We put that on the back of his jersey.
Right.
Not Honey Badger.
Not Honey Badger.
Did you guys happen to see the meme of like the guy who's making the Chiefs jerseys now, where he's got Juju Smith-Schuster and Valquez Elsez Scantling or whatever his name? I always call that guy Exxon Valdez the entire time I've known him. So
yeah, they've got all the hyphen names on their offense. Kelsey's gonna have to get married for real and hyphenate his name.
There you go.
And they had did Duvernay Tardif leave that team? I think he did.
No idea
so
who
that was another hyphenated name on the offensive line. Team. Yeah. 11 positions, 22 last names.
Mahomes should take his wife's name and be Patrick Mahomes / Matthews or something.
Mahomes Matthews,
yeah.
Oh, good God. I can only imagine Juju and Jordan TikToking together.
He said he wouldn't do it. I don't believe him.
I don't believe him for a second.
I'm gonna miss him, but I'm glad that he's gonna be able to catch 100 passes from Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know that he is. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to understand how like unique an offense he had, and he's just going to throw all his passes to Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce could be like, "Dude, I caught 500 passes this season. What's happening?
My hands are falling off. Throw to somebody else, for God's sake."
I don't know what that
there
offense
are other people
look like
on
without.
this
They
team.
don't have they don't have a good like deep field threat anymore.
No, the Chiefs are in
They're
trouble.
going to draft one.
Yeah, they might draft one. I mean,
they'll get someone. I mean, yeah, now that they have some draft picks, but still, the Chiefs are a bit in trouble. They're not special anymore. Kelsey's not exactly young either.
Yeah.
I mean, his brother's definitely not, but his brother's coming back for another year.
Yeah. But that's the thing. They had Mahomes on that rookie contract, and now that big contract is setting in. So now they're screwed. When you pay a quarterback, 30, 40, $50 million, that just really ties up your cap.
Now you have to draft well.
Now you have to draft really well.
It can all kind of fall by the wayside.
But like when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, how'd that work out?
True.
When they could have had Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
I heard the Damian Williams guy from Kansas City still available in free agency. I heard the Steelers might be interested in him.
I don't think
there's Melvin Gordon. Yeah,
what?
yeah. Who wants to play behind Najee? It's like
nobody.
No running back in their right mind would want to play for the Steelers, and no wide receiver in their right mind would want to play for the Ravens. That's just how it is. You don't want to play for those teams. All right, guys.
And mic drop.
We'll see you guys.
Later,
All right,
guys.
take care, everybody.